I've seen a lot of casinos come and go in this city. Some fade quietly, others go down in flames. But I can't remember the last time I saw something like this. A $4 billion mega resort sitting half empty on a Saturday night. They called it the future of Las Vegas, the first new resort on the Strip in over a decade. A glittering red and gold monument to modern luxury. Resorts World Las Vegas. When it opened in 2021, people said it would change everything. Tech-driven, cashless gaming, seamless digital check-ins. It was supposed to be the perfect blend of Silicon Valley and Sin City. But now, just a few years later, the casino floors are quiet. Dealers are being let go. Restaurants have closed early, and rumors are swirling about what really went wrong inside Resorts World. Was it bad timing? Bad design? Or is it a sign that Vegas itself is changing? I decided to find out.
Part 1. The $4.3 billion dream that was supposed to change Vegas. Resorts World wasn't just another casino project. It was a statement, an announcement that Las Vegas was back. After years of delays, lawsuits, and false starts, the project finally broke ground in 2015. Genting Group, a massive Malaysian conglomerate, poured over $4.3 billion into it, making it one of the most expensive resorts ever built in the U.S. It sits on the north end of the Strip, right on the land where the old Stardust used to be. A legendary spot, once home to Sinatra, showgirls, and mob whispers. That plot of land had been empty for years, a kind of scar left over from Vegas's past. Resorts World was supposed to erase that. It was pitched as the rebirth of that part of the Strip, a sleek, high-tech resort with over 3,500 rooms, 3 Hilton-branded towers, and a 117,000-square-foot casino floor. Everything about it screamed innovation. Cashless slot machines, digital check-in kiosks, and an AI-driven reward system. The message was clear. Vegas didn't need nostalgia anymore. It was time to look forward. When it opened in June 2021, the hype was enormous. Celebrities flooded in. There were fireworks, red carpets, live streams from influencers showing off futuristic rooms and digital keys. Even the logo, a bright red swirl against gold glass, felt like a symbol of rebirth. And for a little while, it worked. Room rates were high, the casino floor buzzed. People called it the Strip's comeback moment after the pandemic. But within 2 years, something changed. And not just a little. By 2024, visitors started noticing it. Empty tables, closed food stalls, and long stretches of quiet walkways. The same guests who once praised its tech-forward design now called it soulless and confusing. The digital systems meant to make life easier were crashing. Self-check-in lines stretched for hours. And somewhere along the way, that $4.3 billion dream started feeling like an expensive mistake.
Part 2. The tech meltdown that embarrassed Vegas. The whole pitch behind Resorts World was that it would be different, more modern, more efficient, more connected. It wasn't supposed to feel like an old-school casino. It was supposed to feel like the future. But the future, it turns out, didn't always work. I started hearing about problems almost immediately after it opened. Guests complained about the hotel's app not recognizing their reservations, digital keys that wouldn't unlock rooms, slot machines tied to the same mobile system freezing mid-spin. And when those systems crashed, the staff often couldn't fix them. Because everything was designed to be handled digitally. If your app failed, your reservation failed. And if your digital key glitched, there was no manual backup. You were just stuck waiting in line with hundreds of other guests holding dead phones. It all came to a head in 2024, when Resorts World suffered what can only be described as a tech meltdown. According to multiple guest reports and coverage from SF Gate, some visitors waited up to 7 hours just to check in. The entire mobile system crashed during a software update, freezing kiosks and locking guests out of rooms. It was supposed to be a showcase of luxury technology, but it turned into a weekend of chaos. People were sleeping in the lobby, VIPs were demanding refunds, and front desk employees were literally handwriting room keys to get guests upstairs. For a resort that marketed itself as the future of Las Vegas hospitality, it was a brutal look. Social media lit up with videos of empty check-in counters, endless lines, and frustrated travelers calling it the worst experience on the Strip. And here's the thing, in Vegas, reputation spreads faster than wildfire. It only takes one bad weekend to stain a brand permanently. The tech-forward experiment that once drew praise had turned into a punchline. Even now, if you search Resorts World on travel forums, you'll see the pattern. People still talk about the technology before they mention the restaurants, the rooms, or even the casino itself. That's a problem, because when guests remember the failure of your system more than the experience itself, that's not innovation, that's dysfunction. And this wasn't an isolated issue. Behind the scenes, Resorts World had been quietly dealing with operational strain. System updates were rushed, staff training on the tech was inconsistent, employees told local media they often had to troubleshoot systems without proper IT support. Vegas has always been about hospitality first, not hardware, but somewhere along the way, Resorts World forgot that simple rule. And once guests lose trust in your service, it's almost impossible to win it back.
Part 3. The struggle to find its identity. Every successful Las Vegas resort has a personality, a clear sense of who it's trying to attract. The Bellagio has timeless luxury, the Cosmopolitan has that trendy millennial nightlife energy, the Wynn is all about refinement and exclusivity. But Resorts World? It never quite figured out who it wanted to be. On paper, the concept made sense. The property was built with 3 distinct hotel brands under one roof, the Hilton, the Conrad, and the ultra-luxury Crockfords. The idea was to appeal to every budget level, families, mid-range travelers, and high-end guests alike. But in practice, it ended up feeling disjointed. You could walk from a $500 a night Crockford suite into the same casino floor where budget travelers were cashing in their drink vouchers. There was no separation, no cohesive theme tying it all together. Locals I've spoken to said the resort felt like it was trying too hard to be everything at once. The luxury crowd didn't feel exclusive enough, the mid-tier crowd felt priced out, and the nightlife crowd wasn't sure what made it special. It's a weird position for a resort that cost over $4 billion to not really stand for anything. Even the entertainment lineup reflected that confusion. They brought in A-list residencies like Katy Perry and Luke Bryan, which sounded huge on paper, but the problem was that these weren't exactly the acts that drive Vegas traffic in 2025. Meanwhile, the resort's big bet on Asian tourism, particularly high-end gamblers from Southeast Asia and China, was stifled by travel restrictions and shifting economic conditions. The crowds they were banking on just didn't show up in the numbers they hoped for. And then there's nightlife. Resorts World launched Zouk Nightclub and IU Day Club with massive hype, promising to compete with XS, Omnia, and Hakkasan. They signed DJs like Tiesto and Zedd, and the marketing made it sound like this was the new epicenter of Vegas clubbing. But here's the thing, that entire scene had already peaked. Post-pandemic Vegas club culture isn't what it was in the 2010s. A lot of high-spending clubgoers moved on to private lounges, speakeasies, and high-limit rooms. So the big, bombastic, mega club strategy just didn't resonate like it used to. By late 2023, you could feel it. Resorts World wasn't the next evolution of Vegas nightlife. It was a gorgeous, gleaming shell that hadn't quite found its soul. The result was a place that had everything money could buy, except the one thing Vegas visitors actually crave: vibes.
Part 4. The empty casino problem. If you've ever walked through Resorts World on a weekday, or even a weekend morning, you'll notice something strange right away. The casino floor is spotless, massive, and beautifully lit, but half the tables are empty. You can hear your footsteps echo off the marble. It feels less like a Las Vegas resort and more like an airport terminal designed for gamblers. Locals started pointing it out online almost immediately after opening. TikToks and Reddit threads began popping up with captions like, "Why is no one here?" or "Did I miss something?" Some videos showed wide shots of empty blackjack pits on a Friday night. Others filmed the food court area, pristine and modern, but nearly deserted during lunch hours. I've talked to casino employees who said the energy just isn't there, that buzz that makes Vegas casinos feel alive. One pit boss put it bluntly, "We've got every amenity you could imagine, but no gamblers." And that's not just an exaggeration. Resorts World was reportedly pulling in solid hotel bookings, but underperforming in gaming revenue compared to older properties like Wynn and Caesars. There's a reason for that. The casino is sleek and modern, but sterile. Resorts World feels more corporate than classic Vegas. The music is quieter, the lighting colder, and the vibe more tech expo than Sin City Playground. It's the kind of place that looks incredible in a promo video, but feels strangely soulless in person. Then there's the prices. Slot players noticed early on that Resorts World had higher minimums and tighter machines. The table games were rarely low limit, and drink comps were more restricted than at other Strip properties. For casual gamblers, the people who make up the majority of Vegas foot traffic, it just wasn't worth it. Why blow $25 a hand here when you can walk across the street and play for half that? Even the bars and restaurants, as impressive as they are, leaned heavily toward high-end dining. The famous food street eats concept, inspired by Singapore hawker markets, was a great idea, but locals complained that street food shouldn't cost $30 a plate. The vibe was luxury for the sake of luxury, not for the sake of fun. And that's where Resorts World hit the wall. It became a resort without a crowd, a place that was designed to impress, but not to attract. The casino could look perfect on Instagram, but when the machines aren't ringing and the crowd isn't cheering, all the LED screens in the world can't save the mood. Walking through Resorts World today, you can feel the emptiness, not just physically, emotionally. It's a reminder that Vegas doesn't run on architecture or technology. It runs on people, noise, and the thrill of risk. And no matter how futuristic the design, if the people aren't showing up to play, the dream starts to fade fast.
Part 5. Competition and the North Strip Curse. There's a long-running joke among Vegas locals. Everything north of Wynn is where dreams go to die. It sounds harsh, but history backs it up. For decades, the north end of the Las Vegas Strip has been a graveyard for ambitious casino projects. The Stardust was demolished in 2007 to make room for the never-finished Echelon Resort. Then came Fontainebleau, a massive blue glass monolith that sat half-built for more than 10 years. The Riviera was torn down. The Frontier became a dirt lot. For nearly a generation, the North Strip was a wasteland of half-finished dreams and fading neon. So, when Resorts World finally opened in 2021, people were hoping it would break that curse, that it would finally bring life back to that stretch of Las Vegas Boulevard. But geography is stubborn. Tourists tend to cluster around the center, Caesars, Bellagio, Cosmo, Planet Hollywood, where the fountains, shops, and walkability make everything feel alive. Resorts World, by comparison, feels isolated. You can't just stroll there after dinner at Bellagio. It's a hike, especially in the summer heat. And then there's competition. Just across the streets, it's the Wynn and Encore, two properties that already dominate the luxury space. Wynn has something Resorts World doesn't: legacy, a reputation, that intangible Vegas prestige that can't be bought or built overnight. High rollers already had their home base. They didn't need a new one. And as Resorts World struggled to build momentum, new players entered the scene. The Sphere opened in 2023 and instantly became the destination attraction on the east side of the Strip. Fontainebleau, long written off as a ghost, finally roared back to life in late 2023 with the kind of hype Resorts World once had. That hype has since died, and now it's arguably worse
than Resorts World now, but that's for another video. I digress. The point is, Genting's $4.3 billion next big thing wasn't so special anymore. It was surrounded by newer, shinier, and in some cases, more exciting competition. There's also a psychological factor. Tourists tend to go where the crowds are. Empty casinos stay empty precisely because people see they're empty. It's the Vegas version of a feedback loop. If a place looks dead from the outside, it doesn't matter how luxurious it is, people will assume the party's somewhere else. And unfortunately for Resorts World, that's been the case for most of its short life. Its enormous digital facade faces the Strip like a beacon, flashing promotions and celebrity ads. But when you actually walk through the doors, it doesn't feel like the center of Vegas. It feels like a side mission, a detour from the real action. By 2024, even cab drivers were quietly telling tourists the same thing. Yeah, Resorts World is nice, but it's dead.
Part 6. The Corporate Vegas Problem. What's happening at Resorts World isn't just a fluke. It's a symptom of something bigger. Las Vegas has slowly transformed from a gambler's paradise into a corporate-run theme park for the wealthy. And Resorts World, for all its beauty, might be the clearest example of that shift. See, the old Vegas, the one built on cheap rooms, free drinks, and wild spontaneity, was designed to make the average person feel like a high roller. You didn't have to be rich to have a story worth telling when you left. But the new Vegas? It's a spreadsheet city now. Every inch of it is optimized for maximum profit. Every drink, every parking spot, every slot spin carefully calculated for corporate return. Resorts World was born into that era. From the very beginning, the resort felt more like a business model than a casino. The technology is cutting edge. The layout is efficient. The branding is slick and global. But in the process, it lost something that made old Vegas magical: imperfection, spontaneity, character. Talk to longtime employees across the Strip and you'll hear the same frustration. Everything's run by algorithms now. Casino hosts are pressured to prioritize credit scores and loyalty tiers over gut instinct. Bartenders track pour counts. Valets are timed down to the minute. The human side of hospitality, the thing that made Vegas feel alive, is slowly disappearing. That's part of why the new resorts feel sterile. They're designed by consultants, not showmen. And for Resorts World, that corporate polish became its biggest flaw. It's too perfect to be fun, too polished to be wild. It's what happens when you build a casino for investors instead of gamblers. Even the pricing reflects that philosophy. In older Vegas, the idea was simple: get them in cheap, keep them playing. Now it's charge them for everything. Parking fees, resort fees, overpriced cocktails, inflated table minimums. It all adds up. Guests start feeling squeezed before they've even hit the slots. The irony is, the more Vegas chases luxury margins, the less luxurious it actually feels. And while Resorts World isn't the only property doing this, it's the one where it's most obvious. Because it's brand new, there's no nostalgia or loyalty cushioning the blow. When Caesars or MGM crank up prices, people shrug, they're institutions. But when a newcomer like Resorts World tries to play in that league without the soul to back it up, the emptiness becomes glaring. So, yes, Resorts World is empty, but it's not just Resorts World. It's the new Vegas business model showing its cracks. The city that was once built on risk has become allergic to it. And if that doesn't change soon, this empty casino might become a preview of what's coming for the rest of the Strip.
Part 7. Attempts to turn things around. To their credit, Resorts World hasn't just stood still. Management knows the reputation, that it's a beautiful but soulless property, and they've spent the past few years trying to rewrite that narrative. The problem is, every attempt to revive the energy feels more like a band-aid than a breakthrough. They started with entertainment. Big names, big money. Katy Perry's residency at the theater was one of the most visually spectacular shows on the Strip, complete with giant puppets, surreal set pieces, and a budget that looked straight out of a Super Bowl halftime show.
Then came Luke Bryan, Celine Dion before her health issues, and a rotating lineup of pop and country acts. On paper, it was an all-star roster, but the crowds never quite matched the hype. The theater at Resorts World is massive, 5,000 seats, and it's hard to fill that every night when you're competing against U2 at the Sphere, Adele at Caesars, and Garth Brooks down the road. Even when shows did well, the success didn't spill over to the casino floor. Guests came for the concert, took a few selfies, and left. Next came the nightlife revamp. Zouk Nightclub and AU Day Club were supposed to be game changers, modeled after Singapore's ultra-luxury club scene. They signed resident DJs like Zed and Tiesto, spent millions on lighting, sound, and production, everything you'd expect from a world-class venue. But the problem wasn't quality, it was timing. The club scene in Vegas has cooled off since the pandemic. People still go out, sure, but the $20,000 bottle service crowd isn't what it used to be. Gen Z visitors care more about experiences than exclusivity, and Resorts World hasn't quite tapped into that yet. By 2024, the resort tried shifting its focus toward technology and events. They leaned into conventions, influencer partnerships, and high-end collaborations, like crypto conferences, esports tournaments, and NFT-themed exhibits. But again, that audience tends to pass through, not linger. They come for the event, not for the resort itself. There have even been efforts to appeal to locals, discounted parking, dining credits, and promotional rates for Nevada residents. It helped a little, but not enough to shake the empty image. Locals still prefer tried-and-true spots like Red Rock or the Palms, where the vibe feels more authentic and less corporate. The irony is, Resorts World has everything it needs to succeed. Great restaurants, a solid lineup of entertainment, a location that should thrive once the North Strip fully redevelops. But the magic ingredient, the reason people choose one casino over another, still isn't there. It's vibe, identity, and connection. And that's not something you can buy with a marketing campaign. Resorts World keeps reinventing itself, hoping one of these moves will stick. But so far, every strategy feels like it's chasing the symptoms, not the cause. The real problem isn't a lack of offerings, it's a lack of soul.
Part 8. What the future holds. If there's one thing I've learned covering Las Vegas over the years, it's that no resort stays frozen in time. The Strip is built on reinvention. Properties rise, fall, and rebrand constantly. And even the biggest misfires eventually find their groove. So the story of Resorts World isn't over, but right now, the road ahead looks uncertain. On the optimistic side, there are a few things working in its favor. The North Strip is finally showing signs of life. Fontainebleau is open. The Las Vegas Convention Center expansion continues to pull huge events to that area. The MSG Sphere, love it or hate it, is drawing millions of visitors who are already halfway up the Strip. Once the pedestrian flow connects more naturally between these properties, Resorts World could finally benefit from that foot traffic it's been missing. There's also talk behind the scenes of repositioning the resort, making it more approachable, less ultra-luxury for the sake of it. Some insiders say management is exploring partnerships with mid-tier entertainment brands and new culinary names that appeal to younger crowds. If they can loosen the corporate grip a little and inject some fun back into the experience, there's still hope. But it's a tough climb. Vegas doesn't give second chances easily, especially when your image becomes the empty resort. The competition isn't slowing down either. Fontainebleau is now the shiny new luxury destination. Wynn continues to dominate the high-end crowd. Caesars and MGM have decades of loyalty data, reward programs, and cross-property perks that Resorts World just can't match. And then there's perception. Once the online narrative takes hold, the YouTube videos, TikToks, and travel vlogs showing empty casino floors, it's hard to erase that image. People plan their trips months in advance, and nobody wants to gamble at a place that feels dead. Even if Resorts World has good nights, those viral clips of empty tables and quiet slots linger in people's minds. Still, Vegas has a funny way of surprising everyone. In the past, properties like the Cosmopolitan struggled for years before finding their audience. Sometimes all it takes is one big moment, the right residency, the right partnership, the right shift in public perception to turn things around. Maybe Resorts World just opened too early. Maybe it was too modern for a city that thrives on nostalgia. Or maybe, in time, it'll finally find its soul once the rest of the North Strip catches up. But right now, standing in that glittering casino surrounded by empty tables, it's hard not to feel the contrast. Billions of dollars spent, and still searching for a heartbeat. Because in the end, that's what Vegas runs on. Not technology or architecture or marketing. It runs on life, on sound, on people. And until Resorts World can bring that energy back, it'll remain the most beautiful ghost town on the Strip.
When I first walked through Resorts World, I wanted to believe it was the start of a new era for Las Vegas. And maybe, in a way, it still could be. The architecture is stunning. The potential is there. But the heart, it's missing. Vegas was never supposed to be about perfection. It was about energy. That feeling when the dice hit the table, when the crowd roars at a jackpot, when strangers become friends over a drink at 3 a.m. That's what keeps this city alive. Resorts World reminds me what happens when Vegas forgets that. You can spend billions building a flawless resort, but if you forget to build a soul, it'll echo forever with the sound of nothing. Maybe one day it'll find its rhythm, maybe it'll even prove everyone wrong. But until then, it stands as a warning that in the city built on risk, playing it safe might be the biggest gamble of all.